Hello, it's Scott Newcomb with Zenvy AI, and welcome to the Systems Are Sexy podcast. Today, I am joined by Christopher Avallon. He's the founder of Avalon Real Estate and the creator of Rent Optics. He runs a fast-growing investor-focused brokerage operating again across New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Christopher blends hands-on investing experience with a deep tech background using data, automation, and tight systems to help investors find and manage better deals. So welcome to the show, Christopher. How are we doing?
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on. I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
I'm always interested how people ended up where they are. What yeah, pulled you from real estate investing into launching it? I think it was about 4 years ago, right?
Yeah. Actually, I started out real estate investing back in 2016, and I was kind of a newer investor at the time. I wanted to get my real estate license to get a better handle of the markets and learn a little bit more before I went too crazy with investing. I ended up getting my real estate license, and then I worked at Keller Williams for a bit, and there were some changes over there. So I ended up deciding to start up my own brokerage and focus on, more of the investment type of clientele, just because that seemed to be the people that I did the best with and had the most connections with and was able to help out the most. That's kind of what led me in that direction.
Got it. So when you look at the typical investor experience in your markets, what problems were you trying to solve that maybe traditional brokerages weren't addressing?
Well, a lot of guys, they want to find a good rental property or a good investment deal. And, sometimes you may not be able to get that on the market. Sometimes you have to go off market because in a lot of cases, the stuff that's on the market is not necessarily, going to work for a lot of investors. There's some investors that they're okay with market prices, but there's others that they want something that's off market so they can get a better margin and a better deal on it. And so I kind of help with both situations. As we have things that go out for off market properties, and then obviously we have access to the on market properties. And then also, I think I have a better perspective in terms of analyzing the property, whether it's on market or off market. I can kind of give somebody a better perspective on if it's a good deal and whether it's going to fit their uh, investment criteria or not.
Yeah, I was trying to get like maybe a high level look at how your team runs today. Like, what does a workflow look like from acquisition to management?
Yeah. In terms of acquisition, when you say acquisition, do you mean just finding new deals
Yeah,
or buying a property or helping people buy or
helping people buy. Yeah.
yeah, so we do a lot of marketing. So it's direct outreach marketing, whether it's direct mail or phone outreach or website advertising. So we do a mixture of that. And the first part of the day involves handling the marketing and then speaking with any people that may be responding to the marketing or any clients that we're in contact with. We try to handle that in the first part of the day. And then in the afternoon, we usually reserve that for appointments or anything else that we have to get done if we don't have appointments on any particular day.
I know when we were speaking earlier, you had mentioned about it's challenging to find agents who treat the work like a business. And I'm wondering, how do you find good agents, and like what qualities are you looking for when you meet with them?
Yeah, so honestly, a lot of the good agents I found were from people that I've done transactions with, and I've had a good experience with them, and we kind of keep in touch. And then, I might say, hey, we have an opportunity over here. Would you be interested in coming on board or learning more about it? And then we'll kind of sit down and talk about it, and then they'll usually decide to come on. Again, it's through the transactions that we do in the day-to-day business, and I kind of keep a note and see, oh, okay, this guy's pretty good, he's on top of things, or oh, this person really rough transaction, they weren't really on top of things, they didn't know what they were doing. So that's been a good source. We tried going outside and doing advertising through different websites, and we've gotten some people that come in on those routes, but it's been kind of hit or miss, probably more so miss than hit. I find the best results were people that I actually know or I know through other people or from doing business with them in transactions.
Yeah, I totally get that. You kind of mentioned some marketing a little bit of how you guys have used direct mail, cold calling, list building. Have you analyzed like, hey, this is the most reliable source for generating new leads for me?
Yeah, so we always look at the return. So at the end of the year, we want to look at the dollar amount of return per marketing medium. And anything that's not generating, at least a 3 or 4 times return, we're going to evaluate that and see if it's worth keeping or not. And if it's not worth keeping, then we want to take a look at maybe another option that we can replace it with.
Got it. Yeah, I think we were chatting before about, kind of like the market shift in the last few years post COVID. Have you had to make changes in your marketing system, like once expired listings or FSBOs dried up?
Yeah, that was a whole challenge that we had to deal with. I would say probably about a year and a half, 2 years ago. At one point, we were getting a lot of business from for sale by owners and expired listings. That was more so on the well, I guess it was both investors and non-investors. But when the market changed in terms of how much inventory was out there, so basically everything was selling. There's really not many properties expiring. What was happening was the properties that were expiring, the people didn't really want to sell, and they just decided not to sell. So you had a huge demographic shift in terms of what was actually expiring, and if they really wanted to sell, and they didn't anymore. And the same thing with for sale by owners. Basically people were able to just throw it up, and because there was such a limited amount of properties on the market, a lot of buyers and their agents were going to for sale by owners, which is not traditionally seen in the past. And with the tight inventory, that really had a profound effect on those other two options there. So we kind of had to get rid of them because they weren't really generating much of a return after a while. And so we kind of replaced that with more so targeting certain criteria with the list building, targeting maybe people that inherit properties, out of state owners, different combinations of those, and reaching out that way. So it's not dependent on if a property expires or if somebody's going to list their property for sale by owner. It's more so going through the property ownership records and then seeing what owners meet certain criteria, and the types of criteria that we're looking for would correlate with how likely somebody might be looking to sell property or maybe likely to rent it out, or want a property manager.
Got it. And I'm wondering what, as far as like communication is so important, I'm wondering, are there ever any communication points with like prospects or owners that maybe consistently bottleneck or slow down deals that you feel like, hey, we need to do a better job of that, or just how the industry is?
Well, the issue is in real estate, we have a lot of other people involved with the transaction, so we could get everything right with our communications. But in terms of the title companies, the mortgage companies, and then other agents from other companies, we can't control any of that. So we could do everything on our end, and then we may end up having to pick up the pieces of somebody else's communication failures at the end of the day. And what I found is, in many cases, the most responsible party ends up doing more of the work.
Yeah, right.
If I'm in a transaction with somebody and they're not responding, they're not doing things, and I don't want the transaction to fall through for the sake of my client and the sake of the deal in and of itself, then I might have to do more work than I'm being paid for because the other person's just not doing their job. It's unfortunate, and it's a problem in the industry. And if there was a solution for that, I'd be happy to implement it.
I was wondering if you could, wave a magic wand and automate one process or one step in your business. Have you thought about what that would look like?
That's a good question. I mean, automate, well, like just fully hands off. I don't have to do anything, and it gives us results, something like that.
Yeah, the way I kind of look at it is, like if there's a task that I have to do 3 times manually, I need to figure out a way to have a process in place to handle it for me, whether it's using technology behind it or having someone on my team do it. I'm just wondering if there's something that's repetitive that you feel like, man, I wish this was automated. I'd have to deal with this so much.
Well, I can give you an example of something that we did automate that was pretty repetitive. It just involves, when we pull lists, sometimes we have to use Excel files, and sometimes we're getting them off of the MLS. And certain lists that we pull, when we take it off of the MLS, the formatting is all screwed up. It's not neat. There's different columns in there that we don't need, and there's different labels on there that we don't need. And sometimes the zip codes are missing the zeros and things like that. So what I did, I ended up just coming up with a Python program where I just download the list, I run it through the program, and like that, I have it in the format that I need. Where previously I'd have to do the same thing each time with a manual process through Excel, which is a big pain in the neck. And then we had an admin do it, but now we don't have to worry about it. And we just run it through the program. Every time we get the exact same result, and it cuts it from maybe 20 minutes to maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have a unique background with the data science. Well, it kind of leads me to your other businesses, Rent Optics. Could you kind of let us know what that does?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Rent Optics, I honestly, I just kind of finished up a working version of the website. But one of the issues in the business on the investment side is, let's say that, you get a client who they say, hey, I want you to give me, the best rental properties that are on the market right now. What are the ones that are going to make the most money? And so if I were going to do that manually, it would take me hours of work, right? I'd have to go in, I'd have to look at each property, I'd have to look at comps for each property, calculate, okay, what's this going to bring in rent? If they're not telling you, a lot of cases with properties that could be vacant or the agent may not list what the rent is. So we'd have to figure out the rent, and then we'd have to go by, maybe their criteria, like how much money they're going to put down, what are the current mortgage rates, what are some of the expenses that have to do with the property, like insurance and other things that go into your net income, calculating your net income after you pay taxes, things like that. So Rent Optics basically does all that with a click of a button, right? So what I could do is I could download a list from the MLS, upload it to Rent Optics, and it'll show me out of these 10 properties, which ones are closest in terms of, so the for sale price is a big factor in determining how profitable it is going to be from a rental perspective. So the way that it ranks the outcome is based on my purchase price versus the sales price. How close together are they? And it'll rank them in order from the closest to the for sale price to the farthest away from that. And then that also includes all the different calculations for my required cap rate, my required return on investment, and so on and so forth. So we just basically put all those numbers in, upload the list, and then it'll spit it out in terms of which property is the best, or most profitable, and then which property is the least profitable based on the asking price and expenses and return on investment and all that.
Have you thought about your go-to-market strategy for Rent Optics? I know you're pretty early in the process, but have you thought about how you want to introduce it to everybody?
It's a good question. It's not too much. I mean, it's been a side project and it's something I do when I have a little bit of extra time. And finally was able to finish it. We've been sending out emails to realtors and we've been posting about, I think I posted on LinkedIn the other day, but I don't have any type of like structured plan in place just yet. I'm still doing a little bit of research and figuring out what the best way to get that out there is. So yeah, not too much yet.
Okay. Well, I think what's interesting about you have this like a tech background, and I'm wondering where do you see real estate, whether it's investors or agents or just maybe just real estate in general, where do you see it going? Because I feel like tech is becoming more prevalent in the industry where it's been very hands-on before. What do you see the next couple of years look like with whether it's AI or technology in the industry?
Yeah, so I think that the people that embrace AI to help them have a more streamlined business or, maybe a more successful business are going to be the ones that come out on top. People that are unwilling to embrace it or maybe just say, no, I'm not going to do that. I want to just do things the old fashioned way. And you're going to eventually get left behind. It's not going to replace the human element involved with real estate because real estate's highly personal in terms of working with people, but I do think that it's going to make things a lot more efficient, and if you're not there to embrace it, you're going to get left behind.
Yeah, right. Let's go back to Avalon. Have you thought about like what the next process is, like the next chapter, what the next couple of years look like for your business?
Well, I think it's in terms of the next couple of years, we're going to be focusing on maybe bringing in more property management clients. We're going to be focused on doing some more investment transactions, whether it's wholesale deals or representing buyers or sellers on the investment side. So I think we're going to be going more in that direction. In terms of outside of that, we do have another company that gets involved with like buying investment properties for us or for me. So that's kind of separate, but that could be intertwined. If that grows, we might work with the brokerage to maybe handle, rentals or other things from that investment company.
I was curious about if someone's entering the industry now or is in the industry doing similar to what you are doing, if you could give advice to that person, what would you say to that person that's maybe trying to do what you're doing?
I would say make sure you have people that can help you along the way, have some mentors in place because you're going to need somewhere to go when you have questions about things that arise or, when changes in the market happen that you may not have encountered, you need to have some kind of a place to go to get answers. And also to make sure you have a plan in place and to focus on a narrow set of items that you're going to execute to get to where you want to be.
Got it. So if anybody listening wants to learn more about what you're doing, whether it's through Avalon Real Estate or Rent Optics, what's the best way to find out about those?
Yeah, they can go to the website, either avalonre.com or rentoptics.com, and it's OPTIX. So either one. I mean, they can contact me. My emails are listed on there. There's info@rentoptics.com or there's Chris at avalonre.com. So my email. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Chris. I really appreciate your time. I learned a lot.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you having me on here.
Sure.